Simplified. So here we are on the third episode of arithmetic progression, and in this video I'll be going through some of the advanced level problems so we can go to the topics without any delay. So our question is, a company decided to distribute a bonus sum of $700 among its top 7 employees. If each bonus amount is $20 greater than its succeeding bonus, find the value of each bonus paid. Which means that the company decided to pay out as $700 in total as a bonus for 7 top employees within their company. And this distribution of $700 is not done equally, which means that that distribution is not an equal distribution. And that's been clearly given in the question that each bonus amount is $20 greater than its succeeding bonus, which means that, say for example, if the first bonus you find is $50, then probably the next one is 50 plus 20, that is $70. And the next one, the third one, will be 70 plus 20, $90. So that's how the bonus pays are designed. Now, in this question, they're asking us to find out what is the value of each bonus pay. So they're clearly asking you what is the sequence. So usually we are given a sequence and we are asked to find sum and common difference, first term, etc. Now in this case, the situation is just the opposite, which means that they have given sufficient data and we are supposed to find the sequence. So getting the sequence is a very simple process. If you can get the first term, probably you can add $20 and you can find the rest of the sequence. So we need to find the A, or the first term. Or if you're finding A and also it's fine, you can go back to the sequence by reducing $20 each time. So in this case, I'm going to find out A. So we already know certain details. For example, we know that 700 is the total sum they are going to distribute. So sum is 700 and there is 7 employees in total. So there are 7 terms basically. So 7 terms is what we need to find. So n is equal to 7, and common difference, as I've already mentioned, has been given as d is equal to 20. Now we need to substitute these values into the equation of sum of arithmetic progression, which we already know, that is s is equal to n by 2 into 2a plus n minus 1 into d. Now into which, if we are substituting the values, the equation will somehow looks like this. For s, we have to replace it with $700, n it is $7, sorry, and it is not $7, and it is 7. And A we don't know yet, so we are keeping it as it is. And for difference, it is $20, so we are replacing it with 20. So in the next step, what happens? This 2 into A means it is 2A plus 7 minus 1, it is 6, so 6 into 20. So 6 into 20 is 120. And interestingly, this 2 over the denominator here has been taken to this 700. We are doing a multiplication operation over here, so that turns to be 1400. So 1400 is equal to 7 into 2a plus 120, which means that we need to take this 7 to inside to this bracket. So 7 into 2a means 14a, 7 into 120 is 840. So this 840 needs to be taken to the left hand side. So when you're taking that to the left hand side, it will become negative. So 1400 minus 840 is equal to 14a, which means 1400 minus 840 is 560 is equal to 14a, which means that a is equal to 560 divided by 14, or otherwise a is equal to 40. So first term is 40. So you can find the rest of the sequence by adding 20 each time. So 40, then 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. Now for verification process, you can just add all these terms and see whether it is 700 or not. If it is 700, your answer is correct. The way you did the calculation is also correct. You can go ahead. So we're going to the next problem. So our question is, a student has to pay penalty for missing fees payment as follows: 20 rupees for first day, 25 for second day, 30 for third day. How much the student has to pay if he has delayed the fees payment for 30 days? So a student missed the payment, now he need to pay penalty for each and every day he delays that payment. So for the first day, the penalty is 20 rupees. For the second day, the penalty is 25 rupees, which means that if he is delaying 2 days, the total penalty amount is not just 25 days of second day, it's 25 plus first day's 20, which means that it is total of 45 rupees he needs to pay as penalty for delaying 2 days. Now same for the case of third day. Third day, the penalty is 30 rupees. That doesn't mean that he is only supposed to pay 30 rupees, okay? It is 20 of the first day plus 25 of the second day plus 30 of the third day. So the penalty is increasing in an incremental fashion. So that's how the things are. So if he is delaying 3 days, that means he has to pay not just 30 rupees, it is 30 plus 25 plus 20, which is 75 rupees. That's what he has to pay. Now we are asked to find what is the total penalty he is going to pay if he is delaying the payment for 30 days. We are not asked to find what is the 30th term. We are asked to find what is the total penalty he is paid. So essentially you have to understand that we are not going to find n over here in this question. We are asked to find the sum of arithmetic progression in this question. So once you get that idea, we can start doing. So we have already got the sequence actually. So of course the first term is 20 because the first day penalty is 20. Common difference is 5 because it has been increasing by 5 each day. Now the last term or the term up to which we need to find the sum is 30. So that's the reason n is equal to 30. Now we know the equation of sum of arithmetic progressions. So we are going to substitute all these values in that equation. So when you're substituting for n, we have to replace it with 30. For a, we have to replace it with 20. And for d, we have to replace it with 5. So when you do that, what happens? We know that this 2 into 20 means it is 40. And 30 minus 1, it is 29. So 29 into 5. So 29 into 5 is 145. So 145 plus 40 is 185. That means 15 into 185 is equal to 2,775. So the student has to pay 2,775 rupees as a penalty of delaying the payment for 30 days. So if you are feeling confused, try to understand the question once and try to do it yourself. If you find it difficult, you can come here and just see how the solving is done. We are going to the next question without any delay. So next question, this question might be a bit challenging for you, but the question is very simple. 49 paper rolls are stacked as follows. 10 paper rolls in the bottom row, 9 in next row, that means the second row, and 8 on the third row, as like this. And in how many rows are 49 paper rolls are placed and how many rolls are on top row? Which means that this is how we are designed to put the paper rolls, which means that 10 paper rolls on the first row, 9 on the second, and 8 on the third. So this is how it is being designed. Now we are having totally 49 paper rolls. So after completely stacking this 49 paper rolls, how many rows will be there? That's the first question. And second question is that how many number of paper rolls will be on the top row? So basically we are asked to find what is n and the value of n. This is what we need to find out in this question. Okay, so we already got some information because this is how the stacking is done, which means that we know a is equal to 10 because that's how the sequence is starting. So the bottom row is having 10. Now the total sum is 49, which means that there are already 49 paper rolls in total. So S is equal to 49. Now you might notice that D is being given as -1 because the common difference is getting decreased. So when you're comparing the flow sequence, we know that the first one it is 10, then it has been decreased to 9, which means that this decreasing factor has to be taken into consideration, and that's the reason we are given common difference as -1. Now if you're substituting these values into the equation of sum of arithmetic progressions, probably there will be only one factor left apart, and that is called as n. So we are asked to find the n over here in this question, so we are going to substitute it directly. So upon substitution, n, you could not replace it with anything because you want to find n over here. Of course, S is 49, we have to replace it that. and a is been replaced by 10, which we already know, and common difference is -1. So what happens? 2 into 10 becomes 20, and this -1 has to be taken into the bracket. So -1 into n means it is -n, and -1 multiplied by -1 is +1. After further simplification, 20 plus 1 will become 21, so -n. Now we are having a 2 on this denominator, so this 2 has to be taken to the left side by multiplying it with 49. So eventually it will become 49 into 2, that is 98. Then we are having an n left over here after taking 2 from the denominator. So this n into 21 minus n, which means that opening the bracket, this n into 21 will becomes 21n, and this n into minus n will becomes -n square. So we got the quadratic equation like this. Upon further simplification, we are going to take all these terms to the left hand side, which means that this -n square will become n square, and this 21n will become -21n, plus 98 is equal to 0. If you want to solve this, you have to understand that n is having two possible values. N square depicts that n is actually having two different possible values. So to find out those two different values, we have got two important clues. The first one is that when you're multiplying that two numbers, we should get 98. So if you are, this is how we are looking at it. So this term, it is 98, means that when you're multiplying those two numbers, those possible two values for n, you should get 98. And their sum of these two numbers should become -21. So try to pause at this point and try to find out and figure out those two values for n, because when you're continuously trying to do this exercise, what really happens is that you will become familiar with those numbers. So you will be having a good idea regarding possible values that could be substituted for getting the required sum or getting the required product. So that's how you have to work. So here in this case, it is n minus 14 and n minus 7, which means that minus 14 and minus 7 upon adding will yields minus 21, and upon multiplication, minus 14 with minus 7 will become 98. Minus and minus, it is positive. So that's how we are coming to the conclusion, n minus 14 and n minus 7, which means that n can either have 7 or 14. So here, from basic idea, or the way this is being stacked, clearly gives you an indication that n could only be 7. Definitely it could not go further to a point like 14 rows in this case for sure. So you have to bring that into your consideration and also try to find if it is possible also. So in this case, n is equal to 7. So we got there are 7 rows in this case. Now we need to find how many number of paper rolls on this 7th row. That's what we are going to find out. So rest of the factors we already know, and we are going to substitute the values into the regular equation of arithmetic progression, that is n is equal to a plus n minus 1 into d. So a is already, we know that it is 10, and we know that n is 7 here, and also d is minus 1. So upon further simplification, this will become 10 plus 7 minus 1 means it is 6. So 6 into minus 1 means it is minus 6. So basically 10 minus 6 means it is 4 rows on top row, and it is 7th row. Or totally there are 7 rows, and the top row contains 4 paper rolls. So that's how we are solving this problem. Now we'll go to the next one without any delay. So our problem is, sequence is given 24, 21, 18. How many terms needed to make their sum 78? So the sequence is directly given. So we can get A from that, we can get D from that. We are also given sum. Now we are only asked to find out how many terms needed, which means that we need to find out n. So we are going to write down the factors we know. So sum is, of course, it is 78. That's been clearly given here. A is equal to 24, that's the first term, and D is, of course, it is minus 3, because the sequence is decreasing one. You can see that 24 to 21 means that there is a difference of 3 that is decreased, and because of that reason in order to indicate that decreasing factor, we are going to give d is equal to -3. Now we need to substitute all these factors into the equation of sum of arithmetic progression. That's just a regular process. So upon substitution, what happens? S is equal to 78, and we don't know. A, it is 24, and D, it is -3. So upon further simplification, what happens? 2 into 24 will becomes 48, and this -3 has to be taken inside this bracket, which means that multiplying -3 into n is -3n, and -3 into -1 means it is 3. So upon further simplification, what happens? 48 plus 3 is 51 minus 3n. And this n by 2 over here, we can see that, and we are going to take this 2 in this denominator into the left hand side. So it has to be multiplied with 78. So that will become 78 into 2. And there is an n remaining over here. So that n has to be taken inside this bracket by multiplication, which means that n into 51 will becomes 51n, and n into -3n will becomes -3n square. Now upon further simplification, the 78 into 2 means it is 156, 51n minus 3n square. So we are going to make it look better by taking this -3 all the way to the left hand side. So it will become plus 3n square. This 51n is also to be taken the same way. So it is going to be minus 51n plus 156 is equal to 0. So when you take a look at this equation, you can see that it is merely difficult for you to solve it. But interestingly, all the three terms, as you can see, like 3, 51 and 156 are divisible by 3. So if you don't know the divisibility of 3, just add all the numbers in the digits and see whether it is divisible by 3. So for example, here I'll show you 1 plus 5 plus 6. What happens? 6 plus 5, it is 11. 11 plus 1, it is 12. So it is of course divisible by 3. In this case, 5 plus 1, 6. 6 is divisible by 3. 3 is of course divisible by 3. So just divide this equation by 3. So that will give you n square minus 17n plus 52. So that is giving you into a quadratic equation where you got sufficient clues to find the possible values for n. So when you're multiplying, you should get a 52. And when adding, you should get a minus 17. So as I already told you, just pause at this point to find out that answer yourself. So the answer will be n minus 4 and n minus 30. So n can have values minus 4 and minus 13. That is n is equal to 4 or 13 basically. So minus 4 multiplied by minus 13 is 52. And upon adding, it is minus 17. So it is satisfying both of these conditions correctly. That means the possible values for n is equal to either 4 or n is equal to 30. The reason I'm saying n can also have the value called 13 here, because what really happens is that when you extend the sequence, you'll find that the sequence is going beyond 0, which means that you'll have negative values also in the sequence. So what eventually happens is that there will be a huge sum in positive value and there will be a smaller sum in the negative value. When you're finding the net effect, you'll get the sum as 78 again. So basically, if you're saying n is equal to 4 and n is equal to 13, both are possible values, and in this case they are correct. The previous question, one answer is correct, and in this case both of the values are correct. Okay, so you have to make sure that which values are correct and which values are not. Okay, just try, you can definitely find out. Okay, so in this case, if you're still confused at whether it is going for up to 13 value, I mean the n's value up to 13, probably write down the sequence up to 13th term and try to find out their sum. So you will probably understand why I said n is equal to 13 is also correct. Now next question. If the first and last penalty payments by a construction company for delaying a project are 1,700 and 35,000 respectively, if the common difference is 900, how many days he delayed the project and what is the total penalty he paid? which means that a construction company has delayed a project, and because of that reason the first day penalty he paid, or the first penalty he paid, is 1700, and the last penalty he paid is 35,000. So this is essentially giving you the first term and the last term. Basically A and AN is given. If the common difference is 900, that's easy because they're given common difference directly without any complications with the question. Now, how many days he delayed the project and what is the total penalty he paid? So we are given two different terms. The terms are A is the first term and A, the last term, is also given. We are asked to find two important things. First one, how many days did he delay the project? So we are asked to find the N, and we are also asked to find the total penalty, which means the sum also we have to find out. So first of all, we are going to write down everything we know. So the first value, or A, is equal to 1700, AN is equal to 35,000, and common difference is 900. So when you substitute all these three values into the equation of arithmetic progression, you will get the value of N. Of course, we need to find out. Okay, so AN, we know that, A, we know that, D, we know that. We are just substituting these values. So what happens? For AN it is 35,000, A it is 1700, and common difference is 900. So what happens? This 900 has to be taken inside the bracket by multiplication. So 900 into N, that is 900N, minus 1 into 900, that is minus 900, which means that 1700 minus 900 is equal to 800 plus 900N. Okay, in the next step, we are going to take this 800 to the left hand side to make sure N terms at one side and the other numbers at the other side. So 35,000 minus 800 is equal to 34,200 is equal to 900N, which means that N is equal to 34,200 divided by 900, which is equal to 38 days. So now we got the answer. He delayed the project 38 days. Now we need to find what is the total penalty he paid. So as we already know the first term and the last term, and we also know N right now, we can use the simplified equation for the sum of arithmetic progressions, which is S is equal to N by 2 into A plus AN. So for N we are replacing it with 38, for A we are replacing it with 1700, and for AN it is 35,000. So upon substitution, what really happens is 38 by 2 is 19, and 1700 plus 35,000, upon calculation you will get the answer as 36,700, which means that the huge sum he paid is rupees 6,97,300. That's something really huge, and that's what he paid as penalty for that project for delaying it for 38 days. Okay, so that's how we found the answer. So if you're finding it confused, try to do it yourself and pause the video and try to watch the explanation once you complete doing that calculation. So that's how you have to do. We're going to the next question, the last question. So our last question is, WhatsApp group has 8 group admins. Each of them can add 1 member a day. The maximum capacity of the group is 256. How many members will be there in the group on 28th day? So the question is very simple. I'll explain you how it is working. So on the first day, there are 8 members in the group. They are all group admins. Now as per the condition, each of this group admin can add 1 member a day. So in the second day, what really happens is that there will be 8 plus 8, 16 members in total, which means that 8 of this group admins are going to add 1 member per day. As per that calculation, 8 plus 8, 16 members will be there on the second day. Now on third day, what happens? There will be another 8 will be added by the group admins, which means that 16 plus 8 adds up to 24. So that's how the sequence is continuing, 8, 16, 24, and it ends up at 256. Which means that the total capacity of a WhatsApp group as per right now is 256. So the last term is 256. So as per this sequence, we are only need to find what is the 28th term's value. So when you're giving n is equal to 28 and substituting the rest of the features which you already know from the sequence, we'll be getting the answer. So we are using the regular equation for that, n is equal to a plus n minus 1 into d, in which a is equal to 8, that is the first term. Common difference is 8, we have to substitute that value too, and for n it has to be substituted by 28. So when you're substituting all this, you'll get it as 28 minus 1, it is 27 into 8, which is 216, plus 8 is equal to 224, which means that the total number of members within the group on 28th day is 224. This is a created question, okay? I created this for trying to connect it with a real life thing. So that's the only reason. So this is a really easy one actually. This is not an advanced one. Anyway, so I believe you got a really good idea regarding some of arithmetic progressions. Try to practice yourself many times, and when you're having confusion, try to take a look how the explanation is given. And thank you so much for listening, and if there is any improvements which you need to have from my the way of taking class, definitely you can comment. And thank you so much. See you on next episode. Signing off.